This one's for KIRSH Helmets with President Donnie Devito. Donnie, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
I love being here. This is great.
Great. So Donnie and I met during a convention or some type of event at RPI.
It was RPI. It was a job fair.
Yes.
One of the largest in the area.
Yes. And I was actually with Trophy Case, who we actually just launched today on YouTube.
Great company. Hunter's a terrific guy.
Yeah. He's a good friend, and as you know, I work with him, and we're definitely doing some exciting things. So I am very happy that we got to connect through Hunter, and
yeah, I am too. Not
only hopefully work together in the future, but create a good friendship.
Yeah, we will. We already have. We got a good start.
Definitely. So might as well, for the fans and for the people who don't know who you are, maybe give a little background on yourself. I know you were in finance, you were a veteran, and now you're involved with KIRSH Helmets. So maybe you could give us a little backstory on yourself and how you ended up here at KIRSH.
Yeah, great. Well, I got my degree in finance and economics, and I went on active duty, and I spent years on active duty and then also in the National Guard. I came home to a job at Merrill Lynch.
How many years total?
I had 15 years, actually. I had a 15-year career. I was one of those.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, I enjoyed every minute of it. And,
my man.
Well, not every minute, but most of them.
I hear you.
But I spent 15 years, and they had, for us, they had an early retirement. It was a unique time in the military, and they had a reduction in force, and I was able to get a 15-year retirement. And that was unique. And anyway, I spent my time doing that, and went all over the country in service, and that was terrific. But I came back to a job at Merrill Lynch and spent 30 years in investments. I worked for Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, and did a lot of work going across the country as well, advising individuals.
Were you headquartered in New York City for?
No, always here in Albany.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And you traveled a lot in that position?
I was able to at Morgan Stanley. I was in a unique position and went around the country looking for companies that I could help grow and advise. And Morgan Stanley was very, attracted to technology companies, well known in the investment banking arena. And so I was able to do a lot of work in corporate finance and banking to help these companies grow. And so it gave me a start with entrepreneurship and working with with these companies that were advanced materials companies, mostly unique technologies, when they were reaching inflection points and bringing capital in to them to help them grow when they needed it. So it's fun.
That's one of the passions of mine, not at the level you're at now, but really to help businesses grow, to connect the dots for them and really get them to where they need to be.
Yes.
So how'd you end up at KIRSH Helmets?
Well, it's funny. You talk about connecting dots, and I agree. Connecting dots, networking is so important. I mean, the way we met, but I spent my whole life collecting dots, and then now I connect them, and that's what happened and why I met Jay. I was able to over time mentor companies. And a fella here, Matt Cusick, knew that I enjoyed, and I was searching for somebody to mentor. And he asked me to come to a Saturday morning, middle of February, probably 10 degrees. It was a Saturday morning, early. We were looking, to have bad coffee and meet some entrepreneurs, and it was that morning. I wasn't sure I wanted to go, but I went. And when I went there, I was able to meet Jay for the very first time. And Jay had his prototype. He had just had just gotten his patents awarded, and just finally decided to talk about the company and what he wanted to do and his vision. And that's where I met him. And I thought, this guy's special and his ideas is tremendous. I thought it could be a great global, solve an amazing global problem.
Yeah, I think it's funny. You made a great point, is that you just decided to go to the meeting. And I think that, it's so important to go to the meeting, even if you don't feel like it, because you just never know
Right.
who you're going to meet. So I just think that
Absolutely.
is, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're really trying to get yourself out there, I think that is so important
And I agree. And I think if if you want to be in this field, and you want to work with entrepreneurs, you really got to get up and go.
always.
You've got to look at a lot of companies. You've got to spend a lot of time with a lot of people to find that right one. And I was lucky in finding Jason and what his work was all about. And
He's the CEO and the inventor.
Yes, he's the inventor. He and the CEO were co-founders. We started KIRSH back in January 2017 together.
Okay.
But he had already been working on the project for 7 years on his own, doing what he needed to do to really develop the technology and then get it patented, and ultimately pass the DOT, Department of Transportation test to be able to start making this helmet.
Yeah, and really, how'd you both come up with the idea to start with the half shell, and what opportunities did you see in the market to capitalize on this specific product?
Well, Jason really gets credit for what he did here, and for coming up with the idea and the focus on motorcycle helmets. All I did was come in later and validate in my own mind what he already knew, that there was an epidemic in the world, really across the board on America's highways and around the globe, with compression foam technology. The old foam technology that has been in helmets for the last 60 years. He knew that people would rather not wear a helmet than wear those big and bulky helmets, or they were trying to get away wearing helmets that were too small and unsafe. And that was a problem that he saw, and he started to figure out he understood really why people didn't want to do it as a rider himself. And so I benefited from all of that vision that he had. And then as we got together and talked more, I understood a little better where he was going with it. And then we worked together on developing a business strategy for this. And one of the things that's unique about Jason as well is, as a inventor, oftentimes I ran across people that didn't really, who were inventors that didn't really understand business, but couldn't let go of the reins enough to bring somebody else in. And Jason,
And that's usually a big problem.
it is. And Jason just knew that I don't want to run the business. I want to develop the technology. There's so much for us to do, and that I need to do. I need somebody else that can bring in the business side of things. And so that's where he and I think, collaborate really well. And that's what makes us unique. And in the end, that's what makes KIRSH unique. And I think helps us become, have the chance to be the next billion-dollar company to come out of the capital region.
No, I agree. I think there's great potential here. So, how would you say that you separate yourself from the competition? I think maybe the first thing to start with would be the fluid displacement liner. Maybe you'd want to talk.
Absolutely, it's this right here. It's the fluid liner. When you look at the fluid liner, and here you can take a look at it. What's unique about it is that compression foam is, designed, and the traditional helmets are designed to dent or delaminate, break apart, and to allow the energy of an impact to get in and compress the foam. The problem with that is it directs the energy towards the skull, and that's what continues. That's why problems persist in creating traumatic brain injury and other injuries related to impacts. Our helmet kind of really flips the script on the way technology deals with energy and an impact. Fluid displacement moves the energy away from the head, and our super hardened shell that we've created is designed to deflect or move away the energy from the head. and then whatever energy does come in, it moves that energy omnidirectionally, in all directions around the skull, so that it moves away from the head very quickly.
How long did he take to make this, and is it patented?
It took him about 7 years to develop it.
My man.
It's a lot of time alone and thinking through what the problem was, and then he was inspired in a few different ways to create the technology.
Yeah.
But he knew that fluid can process energy in a high energy impact and a low energy impact, can process energy quickly and dissipate that energy faster than foam and more effectively than foam. So he did that. He developed the technology by trial and error, and as he was able to do that over time, he came up with the approach, and then was able to file those patents. And we have multiple patents now, both process patents, manufacturing process patents, design patents, and we also have utility patent too. In addition, we filed additional other provisional patents to go along with that for helmet design.
And that's, you actually did international patents, right?
We did internationally. We just recently filed our international PCT filings, which gives us, we filed in countries in Europe and Asia, in the Far East. So we have made, I think, what I think are very aggressive patent moves. We plan to file additional patents, later this year. And as we go forward, we're developing always new ways to protect our technology, our trade secrets, and all, and to take those steps to really protect what we're doing.
That's awesome. So, have you guys? Have you done the research on how many lives this could potentially save every year? I know that's kind of a generic question.
Well, it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
If we can even save one life, it would make it all worth it. The Highway Transportation Safety Authority says that 1,200 deaths every year occur because of poor quality helmets, and so that means that the helmets that are either not certified, novelty helmets, or helmets that are poor quality or too big and bulky. Those helmets, if there was a better technology, a better quality helmet, these lives could be saved. So a lot of these deaths are preventable. So we feel we can have a big part in solving that problem.
Yeah.
Whether it's really hard to judge whether we make the difference or not, but I think this technology is definitely going to be able to reduce the likelihood that somebody gets really seriously hurt in a crash.
And did I hear that the foam in helmets, and when you get DOT certified, they only test for high velocity impact, right?
Yes.
And not for sorry, I don't have the right vocabulary.
Let me help you find the words. There's two problems in an impact. You have what they call linear acceleration, and that's a lot like a boxer, a fighter punching a bag. And as they punch that body bag, it's a linear punch. And so helmets are designed right now, and the tests since 1974 have been designed to stop the acceleration of an impact in a linear accident. That happens only about 5% of the accidents that occur. 95% of the time, the kind of impact that occurs is rotational. It's what they call angular acceleration. So somebody goes off the motorcycle, either high or low off the motorcycle, and as that happens, the body begins to rotate, and the brain inside the head begins to rotate, and it's trying to stop that process is what angular acceleration and our technology is about. The idea is to be able to reduce the traction that occurs that causes the helmets, the old style helmet, to grip and stop the head from moving. When the head comes to a complete stop with the old helmet and there's traction, the brain continues to travel. And that force, much like a speed bag in a boxer, in a scenario boxer, a speed bag, the brain is inside, is going in all different directions, and the helmet doesn't stop that process. What the helmet does is it comes to a complete stop, and then the brain continues to travel, causing the injury. Our helmet breaks the lever in this fluid liner. The idea is to stop the helmet, the head from rotating, the brain inside from rotating, to give it time to slow down. That's what we think is going to help prevent traumatic brain injury in riders.
Are you secretly a doctor?
No, I'm not.
Right.
No, I don't. No, but I play one on
Wow.
TV.
So let's talk a little bit about the design of these. I mean, I think these are beautiful helmets.
They are.
You want to talk a little bit about who did these designs and how they came about?
Sure. Well, this is the basic helmet. This is actually our most popular helmet, the CHM1.
Love the black.
It is. Matte black is the right. This is like
It's an
for
Italian
the rest
thing.
of. Yeah, you know, I think it's what it is I think men, we get around each other and we all want to wear the same uniform.
Yeah.
So it's like putting on a tuxedo.
Yeah.
The matte black helmet and the low profile helmet is the style. This helmet is really the style that most often is bought by our clients. They what they're looking for is a low profile, stylish, comfortable helmet, and they want it to be matte black. It's kind of the uniform.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it's been that way for a very long time. What we did this year was we had KIRSH had put together our
contest.
Yeah, we put together a contest called the KIRSH Paint Slinger Shootout.
Yep.
And the Paint Slinger Shootout, we had 20 artists from all across the country that competed to win our People's Choice Award and to win the first place and a trip to Sturgis. And Sturgis is a motorcycle rally in South Dakota. It's the largest motorcycle rally in the world. It's actually been going on for almost 80 years. And
I was doing some research.
yeah, it's a fantastic. This year, right now, about to start this weekend is the next 79th rally, and we're the first helmet that is ever been endorsed by the city of Sturgis in the motorcycle rally.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we are. In its 80-year history, we're the only helmet ever endorsed.
And I think they have I read they have over 750,000 attendees.
That's what's expected this year. This is a little town, 15,000 people or so, that grows to 750,000 people. And so my team right now, the KIRSH team, is out in Sturgis, about ready to meet 750,000 of our closest friends. And next year, the 80th anniversary, they're expecting over 1 million people.
And how did you say you got connected with them?
Well, we, as riders, it's on everybody's bucket list. So we knew being at Sturgis was an important part of our branding and part of our marketing and sales strategy to be there. It's kind of the place everyone should be at this time of the year, and that's where we intended to be. So we did, and back to the Paint Slinger Shootout, we did this with the idea that as we developed the different styles and different artists could compete, we would show these amazing helmets. And here we have two. The one that you have in your hand is a leather helmet, Working Man Customs.
Can I put it on?
You can. There's no liner in it, but you're going to still look cool. And it looks great.
Huh?
Yeah, I think you look great. That's a helmet that was handmade leather by a great artist, Matt Hurtado, and he competed, and we just thought it was such a great, unique approach. And so we plan to work with these artists. Here's another one, Chris Garrison, CG Customs.
Mm-hmm.
Is another helmet. This was our People's Choice winner, and you'll see there some just tremendous artwork and the fine detail. He does great work. Again, another terrific artist. The one that you don't see.
Do they focus on helmets and pieces like this, these specific designers, or do they do all different types?
They do all different kinds of things. Chris actually has a very significant. He does a lot of custom art, but he also does a lot of marine work. So he works on boats and artwork for boats. It's really a great business. And so the one that you don't see here that I think is a beautiful helmet, you got to go to our website to look, and that's KIRSHHelmets.com.
Okay.
You got to go there and take a look at our winning helmet. And the reason it's not here is that helmet's in Sturgis right now. And Jody Perowitz, who is the artist, is a tremendous artist, but also she's a well-known woman in the field of racing and in motorcycles. She's quite a celebrity. Her family has been in the motorcycle business and custom building for years, and she's grown that reputation with her work. And female riders have become a significant part of the market now.
They're
in the
the
last
number one growing?
fastest growing 18 to 34 year old group. Women are getting off the back.
I'm single now. I got to get on a bike.
The ladies are too. They are getting off the back of the bike and they're getting on the front and they're riding, and they spend more money on safety equipment. They spend more money on apparel. Helmets are apparel, so they're a very important market. In the last 5 years, female riders have moved from 1 out of every 9 riders to 1 out of every 5 riders. And so it's really a tremendous growing market. And Jody is going to be wearing the helmet that she designed and won with in one of the rides, and she's going to be signing autographs and doing some stuff at our own booth. And so if you're at Sturgis, if you're going to be at Sturgis, if this airs before that, I can tell you want to be there and meet her. She's a fine woman and great person in the sport. She has, I believe, 12 land speed records.
Wow.
So she's one of the fastest women in motorcycles, and she just does it all. So we're happy to be associated with her. We're very lucky that she joined the contest and we were able to give her the award.
And is that how you market the product? You'll go kind of from rally to rally to kind of showcase the product,
it's part of the strategy. It's kind of an everything bagel strategy. It's from a national perspective. It's about building the brand from the top down and driving consumer awareness, and that consumer awareness comes through social media, through publications, through events and recordings like this, but it's also from the bottom up, and you can understand that riding is a lifestyle, and it's clubs and riders are very tribal. They stay in their groups and they ride together and they enjoy the ride together, and we feel it's really important at the grassroots level to work from the bottom up. So it's important to be at rallies. It's important to be able to have helmets available to riders wherever they live. So having our helmet in dealerships around the country, motorcycle dealerships, whether it's a Harley Davidson dealership near you, or a Indian dealership near you, or another motorcycle dealer, it's good to have these helmets in those kind of areas. Also, there's some affiliates, and we have a tremendous affiliate called Wolfpack.
Okay.
It's a riding app, and Wolfpack has 60,000 members in Wolfpack, and they plan rides together, and they go all over the country together, and we work with Wolfpack to let people know. And we have actually at Sturgis also, they're going to do, I think, 45 different rides at Sturgis, and we're going to be running a couple of rides with them ourselves, and that's going to help them again be with us and get to ride the helmet. The key to this whole strategy is we feel we talk about it as it's the proof is in the ride. When riders pick up our helmet, they know it's different, and we want them to take it for a ride. And we find very uniquely that when people ride this helmet wearing it, they find that it's so different from other kinds of helmets that they really want to own it. And we find that right now it's been almost 100% of the time when somebody rides a helmet, they buy the helmet.
Yeah, and not only is it very safe, it can also cool your head, if I'm not mistaken, as well, right?
That's and without commenting on safety and all that, that's kind of a weird a weird thing to talk about, but it's safer than a lot of the choices that riders make. And what we want when a rider chooses their gear, they decide that they're going to wear a half helmet. We want them to have a better choice than what they've been getting. The fluid liner is unique because we fill it with a silicon fluid, and that silicon fluid can retain coolness.
Okay.
And so rather than being an insulator like foam, it is a conductor, so it moves heat away from the head, and we can put a helmet or a liner in the refrigerator for 10 minutes. It'll cool that helmet down, and then you get about an hour of coolness on your head. So on those real hot days, especially in the South and Texas and Florida,
Sure.
Arizona,
Down south,
California, and even here in Ohio, where in the north where it gets super hot in the summer, it gives them the rider coolness, and that's something that's a benefit.
Does this mold to your actual head?
It will. It's where compression foam doesn't give. It's
Exactly.
It's just kind of it's just hard and uncomfortable. There's pinch points, and it just is generally uncomfortable. Our liner fits to the head. It's because it's silicone and a fluid. It moves and molds to the head, and that helps the rider feel that more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a much more comfortable ride.
Great. So one of the next questions I had I thought was interesting is that 100% made in America, right? And I think that's something that is. Do your other competitors do that? Or are you the only?
Yeah, as far as we know, there's no other helmet that's entirely made in the United States in motorcycles, and so it's very unique that we're doing it. And we are, as you say, 100% made in the United States. Every rivet, the trim, all the materials come and are made here in the United States. Even the paint as well. It's just. We decided that we were going to make an all-American helmet. We do that work right here, largely in New York. We make the liner here in our facility in Queensbury, and we just completed building that facility. We even had to
What
have.
type of facility is that?
It's a clean room made for manufacturing of the liner, and what we do there is we build and assemble the helmet liner, and we inject it with fluid. It has to be in a clean room where there can be a constant temperature, and it can be dust free, so that we can perfect the creation of the liner itself. And then we have around the area other companies that support our work. We have company Cavallero Plastics, which is out over in Pittsfield. They make the shell for us.
Okay.
It's a unique formula of polycarbonate that's has an impact resistant formula that they worked very hard with us to find, and so that we do that. We make our chin straps here in the United States, and actually the assembly of the chin straps are done over in Amsterdam at Breton Industries. A great defense company contractor that has been there for years, and we're very happy to use them. Again, one of the other relationships that I had from years ago that I was able to connect into this project, and so it's very unique in what we're doing and how we're getting the job done. And if we couldn't do it in the United States, we made sure that we could. And we found somebody that would help us do it.
There's a will, there's a way.
And that's what we wanted to do.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, for you work with veterans,
yes,
right? And disabled individuals, correct?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, we have in our facility up north the plans, and we're right now working with WDI Workforce Development to develop the hiring plan and to bring in people with disabilities and veterans to do the work that we need to have done in the facility. We've done unique things, and even the equipment that we had designed by PVA, Precision Valve and Automation over in Cohoes. We had Tony's team there work to even adjust where the dials and fittings are for the robots, so that people could, and the injection machines, so that people could work from a seated position.
Wow.
So
Yeah, and from one thing I want to touch on is I know you have a strong team and board of directors. Maybe you want to touch on a few of them, because
Sure.
I really think that separates you also from some of the
It
competition.
does. It really does, Peter. We've been very fortunate that once people started to understand what we were doing and how unique it was, they wanted to be part of it. So it starts with the strategic partnerships, like I mentioned, Cavallero Plastics. There's another company out in Leroy, New York, that does some of the CAD work that we need to have done, making molds. That company, AIM, aluminum injection molding company, is there for us. So we spent a lot of time with SSP and Boston Spa, Specialty Silicon Products, and Paul DiCaprio's team. They spent a lot of time working with us as we were developing the liner for production. And so it starts there and then works into the people. The advisors, the advisory board is kind of an all-star cast. We kind of built the advisory team with the idea of having people that had consumer products experience. So we have people like Mitch Hara and Jeff Colleen, who ran and sold Global Spec. He had started and taken public Forbes.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Just a tremendous individual and very giving person. We brought him in. On the motorcycle side, we have other greats like Steve Peel, who Steve works for us now. Steve spent 35 years at Harley Davidson, and if you know the brand and you know Harley Davidson, Steve had a play in that. He spent his time in doing corporate communications and everything that was customer facing. So if something happened at Harley Davidson, Steve was behind those great things, including the Harley owners groups, the HOGs, which is a club, a program that Harley Davidson started back in the early 80s. And Steve was the person that founded it. It went from inception to over 1 million riders globally. And Steve helped create that. Steve really drove that entire effort. So we have people like that. So it's been a fantastic process of finding people and building a tremendous team. We have throughout the company material scientists, people that understand engineering and design. We have people that are real experts in marketing and branding. So it's been a pleasure putting this team together. What's unique about KIRSH, though, is that with 27 verticals that we have.
I was just going to start talking about the verticals.
Yeah, with 27 verticals globally, we have tremendous opportunity to go in other directions. But what we did first is, again, focusing on the classic half shell. What we did here was build a team specifically to build and grow that.
Which is very important, to focus on one thing first.
And that's another thing that that very first day when I met Jay wanted to create the half shell. He wanted to focus on that motorcycle helmet. And there were a lot of people that asked him, why not? What about football? What about, other sports and other kinds of helmets? And he could never be distracted from those, that he had a vision to do that, the helmet first, the motorcycle helmet, and then get to the rest later when we could.
Yeah, it seems like you saw a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, we do.
So let's talk about the verticals. First I want to talk about how much do these usually cost?
Well, this helmet right here, this helmet is $245.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a at the higher end of the half helmet
Is it?
market. It's at the higher end. It's not the most expensive, but
Okay.
you're paying for a lot better quality than what you're buying out of many of the other competitors.
And can we order these now?
Yes, you can pre-order them.
KIRSHHelmets.com.
Yes, you just
Check
go
it
right
out.
there and click on the button and
Okay.
get two.
Okay. And one thing that I find was fascinating was the amount of verticals that you can target. Are there any specific ones that I know you're focusing on the half helmet right now, but I know you've been having some discussions with some other
We are.
industries.
It's true.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The way we break our strategy down is in three divisions. We see motor vehicles.
Yep.
Motor vehicle crash helmets is kind of the vertical there. We also have sports and athletics, and then we have safety. Safety helmets is a little easier to describe. Safety helmets are construction helmets, firefighting helmets, all hazards, military law enforcement helmets like that. That's a unique market. It's actually a very, very large market.
And can you make sorry for interrupting you, can you make displacement liner fluid? Can you make that thinner to accommodate those types of helmets?
We let the technology kind of speak to us about what works best, but you develop the application, and we made a heavier helmet, a thicker liner, a heavier helmet for motorcycles, because when you think about it, when you talk about that linear acceleration, or you talk about the angular acceleration, what you're trying to do in that is you've got 850 G's of force. That it's so 850 times the force of gravity that you've got to stop in less than 2 milliseconds. So that's a lot of force. So you need mass to combat that, and that's where the failure is with all the other helmets. Again, to go back to talk about that compression foam, if you make it lighter, you don't have the mass to stop the force, and that's why people are still getting hurt. That's why this epidemic continues to exist, and that's what we're changing. So you need to have more mass and to combat that energy. But as you go to other applications, you can lighten the liner, you can lighten the helmet. Construction is a good example of that. You can make a lighter helmet, most likely. We've been asked to do that, to collaborate with somebody in safety, and they are very interested in doing this in construction, which nobody's touched a construction helmet to change it in a very, very long time.
I think a lot of helmets. I don't know much about the industry, but I would assume baseball helmets, hockey, things of that nature.
There's been a few attempts to advance safety in these other markets. One technology, MIPS technology, is a slip disc technology. The idea is still based on using compression foam.
Okay.
And so it's still just trying to take the old technology and make some modifications to it. It, I think, does work better. Indications are that it does work better, but it doesn't, in our view, work, and a lot of the experts that we work with, it doesn't work a lot better than what we do. We think that what we're doing is so unique. But what it did help me see as a business person, it helped me see the fact that the market's ready for change.
Yes.
So the fact that companies out there have been able to introduce MIPS technology, and because it works a little better, people are definitely wanting that change, and so they're stepping up and buying the new technologies. But they're still seeking something better. We're going to give that to them when we bring our helmets to the market.
Do a lot of these helmets across industries use that specific foam?
They all use EPS, CPP technology. It's that polystyrene.
So this really separates you from the competition. There's nothing like this.
There's nothing like it. There have been a few attempts to use fluid or gel pads and things.
Okay.
In the past, the attempts, even those still incorporated compression foam, and so they never really broke away from the past. So we're the first company, I believe, to make that big leap,
Yeah.
and that's the difference. And I think that's the
It seems like great timing, and timing
it
is
is, no
everything.
doubt, no doubt about it. When when you're when you see the problem that exists, and then Jay was able to figure it out because he went against traditional thinking. He wasn't a traditional engineer trained a certain way to look at linear impact and just solely try to pass a test, which is what a lot of the helmets are designed, just to pass that DOT test or a NOx-A test or another standard. They're designed specifically to pass those tests, but they don't take into account these little known other forces. For a long time, rotational forces were not even understood.
I have to say, this might sound like a pansy, but I've always been a little scared to ride a motorcycle because, falling off, don't know how to do it. But honest to God, after listening to you talk about these helmets, it makes me feel much more
You just
comfortable
want to make the jump.
to hop on a bike and try it out.
Well,
So I'm going to take you up on that. You can maybe teach me some skills.
well,
You know,
there's a way
the
there's
women like it,
classes.
right?
They do. You're gonna be tough.
You're gonna be
You look good in the helmet.
All right. Did I? All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did.
Okay. So
I'd say you can do it.
okay. Yeah. Well, we'll try it out. I wanted to touch on the. I want to touch on the bicycle helmets. I know you've been.
Okay.
Do you
Yes.
mind talking about that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Actually, sports and athletics important.
Yeah.
Central part of what we're going to do in the future. We were approached by a big global OEM, big player in the bicycle market.
Great.
And they want us to, and they use MIPS technology.
Okay.
They felt that they needed to break away from MIPS and begin to work to some alternatives. And they looked at lots of other technologies. And this fella went all over the world, the product design team and the senior management as we went through it. And they came to us and asked us if we collaborate to make a helmet with them. And we think it's a good idea, and we're working with them to figure out how we're going to do that. And when you look at these verticals, our approach is all about what I like to, I coined my own phrase. I call it co-opetition.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is we feel that,
I like that.
you need to collaborate, and we want to be able to have our liner everywhere. We want somebody, when they think about it, we want them to think of this in the same way they think of the Intel inside, that they look for our fluid displacement liner inside helmets
For the protection.
in the future. And so when somebody buys a helmet, we want that day to come when they buy a helmet and they flip it over and they look inside to see if it's got fluid in it. And if it does, then they'll buy it, and they won't buy it without it. And that's the goal. That's where we think we can go. And that's what these guys are looking at. And we feel with co-opetition, it's about finding those partners to help us and collaborating with them to build helmets that are better going forward. And if they can't do it or don't want to because it's not in their business interests, or they don't want to break from the past, or it's too costly, or it's they're willing to continue to mine the old helmets for cash, then
they'll just slowly fall off the cliff.
We'll push them off the cliff, because what we're going to do is just go out on the field and compete with them. So co-opetition really is about cooperating and collaborating, and if not, then we're willing to compete. And in our business, in the motorcycle vertical first, we're willing to take on everybody in that half helmet space, because it's the single largest part of the market in motorcycle helmets. It's about 40% of the market. Really? And all the other helmets, the full face and the modular and motocross and all of that, are only just pieces of the rest.
These are much cooler looking.
Yeah, I think so.
That's my vocabulary.
I think it's a good. We think it's cool.
Yeah, good.
I agree with you.
So, what would you say is kind of the next kind of step for KIRSH Helmets? What's the next milestone you're looking for? Are you looking to raise funding right now?
Well,
Um,
I think the first milestone is already underway. We built the facility. We're about ready to turn that
and
facility
that will lower
on.
costs, correct?
That was we did that because we wanted to cut our cost of making the liner.
Okay.
And we were able to cut the cost of making the liner significantly.
Good.
And that helps us make the helmet available to all these other verticals.
Mm-hmm.
You got to compete at some level. You got to compete on price.
Very true.
But by the same token, we also are making a unique new technology, and because of that innovation and the cost of engineering, the cost of the work to get it to the market, we think that it bears a higher cost and value to the rider or to anybody who wears a helmet, whatever sport or safety or wherever we go. But the first part of the milestone is get that facility done, and we're there now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a big step. We actually turned on the machines on Friday 2 weeks ago, and we started making the first helmets out of that facility a couple weeks ago. We're using those helmets for demos to dealers, and out in their packages went out to Sturgis for people to ride out there for demo rides, but also for testing that we need to complete and want to get done. So that was the first milestone. The other milestone is just launch the helmet, deliver on our pre-orders that we have, and get the helmet into the marketplace, and then get around the country and really tell the story and evangelize this new technology.
Great. So, before we wrap up, is there any kind of last things you'd like to say about the product or what you have planned?
Well, we are planning. You asked the question about a capital raise, and the capital raise, we are doing that. We're using those funds the use of money. We're using them to buy the machines and the molds and the manpower and put those people to work up in Queensbury where we're building this facility. So that's what we are doing right now. Ultimately, as we sign contracts with other verticals, as we grow, we need to add more space and more robots and more machines to the work that we're doing. We need to raise more capital as we go along. But first, we want to launch the helmet, have that be successful, have people know who we are. I guess the final point I want to make, and this is something that I feel was important about what I saw in Jay in this technology and what he had as a vision, is you really have to understand the pain point in the marketplace. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you really got to know how to fix that problem, and we feel we do. And then you have to have the team, you have to have that audacity, whatever you want to call it, audacity, the guts, the courage to go change everything, and I believe KIRSH does.
That just made me think of a question before the final question. What is the biggest challenge you faced so far?
The biggest challenge is everything takes longer than you think.
Oh yeah,
it always does. They talk about that in business, and when you're starting a company, it's really true. But one of the things about this that's unique is we're not making software. We can't come out and do a 2.0 and like add a fix later. This is a piece of safety gear.
Absolutely.
And you don't get a 2.0 with somebody that has an accident. They don't get a do-over. So you need to do it right the first time. And we learned a lot transitioning from the handmade prototype that I first saw Jay with that Saturday morning in February 3 years ago, that first prototype, transitioning from a prototype to a production product, making the assembly line, and then moving from that into a product that you sell all over the market, all over the world. It's not easy, and you have to have the people and the confidence in each other and the stick-to-itness and never give up, because it's you run into things you just can't imagine and expect, and every day is different, and every day has a new set of problems. You just have to roll through them and solve them. And I think for me, having a great team around me makes it easier, because you enjoy the work, the people are capable of solving the problems, and rather than come to me with problems. They come to me with solutions and way to fix things, and that's what makes it
That's what
great.
it's
And
supposed
that's the way it's supposed to work, and that's why I think we've got a fantastic team.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's awesome. So the last question that I like to end with, for the entrepreneurs out there and the people going through life, what is the most important advice that you've received, either in your business career or in life?
Well, that's hard. There's been so many things. I mean, I had great mentors myself over the years. One of the most important people in my life is my father and his wisdom. And, he made me a better person and a better man. And my mom as well. They had more impact on me than anyone single person in my life. And so I think getting the wisdom from them is what's helped. And that's so many more words than I can say right now. But I think making sure you have time to enjoy life and each other and build friendships and build the connections, and eventually put those connections to work.
I mean, it's great what you're doing. You're building meaningful relationships. You're doing meaningful work, and you're building a great product. I mean, what more could you ask for? And you're doing it on your own terms.
And
it's the American dream.
It is. It is, and it's part of who I am. It's for me, just speaking on a personal level, not just for KIRSH, but speaking on a personal level, to be able to help Jay see his vision through and make it happen is an honor, a pleasure, and the fact that we can do something that really is going to affect so many lives over the planet, and I think really solve this epidemic. We're very happy to do it, and I'm lucky to be part of it.
Yeah. I'm very lucky to interview you, and I look forward to seeing KIRSH Helmets grow.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to keeping updated on what you're doing. So,
yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. It's been a good time.